Hello everybody, my name is Frank Youngwerth, and it's my honor to introduce today Nicole Kowalski. Nicole is running for Hudson City Council to fill the seat that was vacated by Dan Williams. Nicole, before we get into all the detail, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on today, Frank. A little bit about myself. I actually didn't grow up around here. I was born in Florida, and before I moved to Ohio, I moved around quite a bit as a child. So Hudson's really the first place that feels like home to me. I graduated from Nordonia High School and subsequently from Kent State University. My husband, he did grow up around here actually. He grew up in Valley View, so he is a native to this area. My husband, he is an attorney at a firm in Cleveland, and in my day job, I own my own marketing and communications firm. In addition to that, I also am adjunct faculty at Tri-C, which I love. I love teaching so much. The students are amazing. Ross and I, we have a daughter, Eleanor. We call her Ella. She is 4 months old now, and we just had her baptized at our community parish, St. Mary's.
What's your current involvement in our community?
Yeah, so I stay pretty busy. I currently am on the Environmental Awareness Committee, which is a board that advises our city council on issues related to the local environment, trash and recycling contracts, and we do a lot of education as well. Some things involving the local watersheds, which are very important. So in addition to that, I also am a volunteer board member for Hudson Community First, which is a local nonprofit. And my annual contribution to that organization that I feel is the most impactful is helping to assist them with the annual fundraiser, A Toast to Hudson, which is an auction. Many of you might have been there at some point, attended as a guest. In addition to that, I'm also a member of Leadership Hudson Class of 2020. I'm a big sister with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Cleveland. And in 2019, I was named one of 15 recipients of YWCA of Greater Cleveland's Distinguished Young Woman Award. Growing up, my parents always were involved in volunteering and doing things for the community, and they really instilled in me the values that I have today of how important it is to give back. So it's something I learned just by watching them, by example. It's not something they ever sat me down and told me. My dad, he's that guy who always will help you move, which nobody ever wants to help anyone move, so that says something. He's been on the HOA for our previous neighborhood, as well as the church finance committee. My mom, she's cooked meals at Haven of Rest. She also sings in the local church funeral choir because she says that she wants people mourning the lives of their loved ones to have beautiful music to celebrate their lives with, and she doesn't want those who are mourning to have to worry about having music at the ceremony. So I'm really grateful that my parents instilled those values in me.
Sounds like they gave you the influence by you learning from what they were doing.
Yeah.
What made you take the big step forward to run for Hudson City Council?
Well, Frank, what it really comes down to is that for the past couple years, I've been attending council meetings regularly. I first started to be interested in it just because of a couple local issues, and I have been regularly attending planning commission meetings and park board meetings in addition to my service on the EAC. So I've really gotten to know the city government very well. And it started to be something that as I grew more and more interested in it, I saw I could have an impact. So it's been a great time to watch our city council members and the mayor and everyone and their service and all the projects that have been going on in Hudson. And that's one of the big reasons that I'm running.
You know, there's been a lot of criticism over the years about communication as it relates to the city, to council, etc. And what's your plan to make that work just a little bit better for the nice people out there who hopefully will be voting for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, Frank. And I actually have a plan to help improve communication. And the approach that I plan to take is easily described with an acronym, LEAD, L-E-A-D. So first I will learn, which is the L, learn about the issue at hand. I will very carefully look at all of the numbers, the data, the research, and following that, I will then educate, so that's the E. I will educate the constituents so that we're on the same page. I think it's really important that they have the same information that I do, so that we're on the same page as they are giving me input. You know, they're operating with the same information. So following educating the constituents on what I have learned, I will then ask them, that's the A, ask them what their thoughts are, their opinions are, and what their needs are that they see for themselves and for the community. Following that, I will then decide, so I will make a decision, that's the D, what I think is best for the community, for Hudson, based on the resident input that I have received and all of the information that I have learned.
Sounds like a good plan.
Thank you.
You know, the city of Hudson and the residents out there over the last few years have been a little bit concerned about how we've become divided within the city after many years of everybody together with the same kinds of goals. And of course, the Phase 2 project seems to be right there at the head of the groups. What's your take on Phase 2, and where do you stand on that project?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a really crucial project that will shape the future of Hudson for many years. So I guess where I stand on it is that we have gotten a lot of community input over the past couple of years. Following the May vote last year, where the initial plan was voted down, our council had 2 citizen-focused sessions where they gathered information, one in May and one in June of 2019. And since then, we've also parted ways with the developers. So while I did support the Phase 2 plan last year, at this point, I believe we need a new collaborative plan that integrates that citizen input that we received following the Phase 2 vote last year. I believe that we need to consider a couple of things. One really important thing that we need to consider is addressing the need for housing here in Hudson. We need to include empty nester housing and some single-family units for those families who want to move into Hudson but aren't quite ready for that 4-bedroom house yet. You know, they don't want to fix a hot water heater if it breaks. So I think that will be really crucial to not only keeping people here in Hudson, but also attracting the next generation of Hudsonites. In addition to that, we do need to put something in there that will help diversify our tax base. That's going to be really important because many of the services we enjoy are funded by income taxes. So diversifying our tax base is top priority for me, but at the same time, I want to make sure that whatever businesses we put in there don't compete with First and Main and Main Street, but instead complement it. There are many other things that we could consider with the Phase 2 property, and I think one of them also could be some sort of green space. A lot of people have expressed a desire for green space. Our council recently was approached by Fairmount Properties, which is the developer who created our loved First and Main. And so it will be interesting in the coming months to see what we do with that. I ultimately believe we cannot make everyone happy. So my hope is that our city council members will do what they believe is best for Hudson. And I think that a lot of those things that I talked about are going to be really important for us moving forward.
Now that sounds like a good way to go. And also, as you mentioned, the need for housing for those who would like to stay in Hudson when they retire, and those who want to come to Hudson to take advantage of this fine city, but aren't ready to buy a big house yet.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, Frank.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that the one thing that happens there is the housing would fit both those groups.
Yep.
And being a grandpa, having some little ones next door would be very nice.
It would, yeah. And I think that there's a way for us to really make sure that the housing looks like it fits and it ties in the neighborhood to the west and the historic district to the east, as well as our First and Main area. One thing I wanted to mention that I forgot before was I think that it's really important that we consider smart growth. So being cognizant of traffic and density, that's going to be very important.
You know, several have criticized our council and our city for spending.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too sure in my mind, as a longtime resident, if they've done poorly in that regard. In fact, I think just the opposite is true. Mm. And I'd be interested in how you feel about that. If I'm wrong, you tell me, but I don't think I am. I think I have a good feel for that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Frank. So what my perception is that our city has done a really good job of investing in ourselves. I think that a lot of what we're seeing right now is a long-term reinvestment strategy, so that the money that we have, that we are spending to reinvest in ourselves, isn't just sitting there. It's really doing something for us, and I think that's really important. So that's evident to me in our AAA credit rating, which shows that we have been fiscally responsible in our decisions as a city thus far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, your website is really an excellent website.
Thank you.
And I know several people that feel as I do about Nicole as a candidate for council, that you cover some very important things, and probably one of the most important things you mention in there is the Hudson Charter. Mm-hmm. And would you like to comment about that somewhat for us for a minute?
Sure, absolutely. So it's very interesting. The Hudson Charter recently was reviewed by our Charter Commission. So a group of residents were assembled to look at every single aspect of the charter. And for anyone who isn't familiar with what our charter is, it's our guiding document. It's basically Hudson's Constitution. It's very long, and they were amazing. They were very diligent in examining every single aspect of the charter. And they're proposing 4 ballot issues for Hudson residents to vote on this November. And that is going to encompass changes. Some of those changes are changes to the language defining the powers of our Planning Commission, the powers of our City Council, as well as just in some sections making the language more consistent in areas that are similar. One thing that has come up a lot recently about our Hudson Charter is that of the form of government Hudson has, which is currently a city manager form of government. So in a city manager form of government, all of the administrative and legislative power lies with our elected officials, the city council members. And our mayor is more of a ceremonial role in Hudson, if you will. The council members direct the city manager to act on the things that they vote on at city council meetings. In a strong mayor form of government, the mayor has more administrative and budgetary powers. And what I've noticed is that in strong mayor forms of government, a lot of times when a new mayor is elected, a lot of turnover happens, and that results in a loss of institutional knowledge, and in some cases, unfortunately, cronyism. So I am in favor of Hudson staying a city manager form of government. I don't think that it would be good for Hudson to be a strong mayor form of government.
You know, unless there's something else you'd like to add, I'd like to make an observation if I could.
Of course.
And my observation is that prior to the first meeting that we had together, I had talked to 4 of my very best long-time friends who have some involvement with the city, specifically Bill Woldridge, also Hal Dessessar, also Kate Schlotterman, and the person we hope you're going to replace, Dr. Dan Williams. Their estimate of the job you would be capable of as a member of Hudson City Council. And they all felt that you'd make an excellent replacement for Dan. And after listening to you at several meetings as well as today, in my mind, I feel there is no possibility that you're not going to be just an outstanding member of Hudson City Council, and I really feel that you're the right person to take over that seat. So congratulations on how at least 5 people feel that I know, including myself.
Thank you so much, Frank. And I have to tell you, all 4 of those people you mentioned, I respect so much. So It makes me feel very honored to have their full confidence in that way, and I'm very grateful. I won't let them down.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. I really appreciate this today.